everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Lifting. Today's episode is being recorded on 4/30/25. This is going to be another Q&A episode, folks. I know we're just rolling these out, but before we go into anything, I now open this circle to true benevolence with no conflicting agendas as of this moment in time. So, Joanna?
We are all one, and when one is harmed, all are harmed. When one is helped, all are helped. Therefore, in the name of who I am, and I am one with all there is, that only the highest good be done. We pray for you, your friends, your family, your loved ones, to let healing energies in. Let them love you and nourish you and bring you to your highest good. We ask for benevolence now to come in with no conflicting agenda so that we may have this conversation today and in great understanding. We also ask for malevolent or mischievous beings to be swept away now so that we may have this conversation in peace. And with that, and with great blessings that we always send your way, we say, so be it.
And so be it. Okay, I will give the affirmation and blessing. This is going to be an interesting one that came through on, this was at the beginning of the month when I first wrote a lot of the questions. This shows how many of them came through, by the way. To the fallen of us, to the righteous, to the noble, and to the lost, know that you are being seen, honored, and most of all, remembered. In name on earth, not always. In name in life beyond, forever. And that was a channeling of Major Audie Murphy when he came through. We're getting more of these celebrities, folks. He was a Hollywood actor, and also was a major in the army. So yeah. So this is very interesting. Okay, I'm this first part that's going to have a movie link with it. I am not going to show the entire clip. It's a 5-minute clip. You can watch this yourself. Go ahead and read the question, and I'll tell them what the clip is.
Well, it was like I saw this clip and was thinking Ragnar was explaining that he understood the spectacle of fearsome acts.
And if people have seen the movie The Gangs of New York, Bill the Butcher haunting monologue Gangs of New York clip, I will put the clip in the descriptor and label it clearly, but I'm not going to play the entire thing at all, or any of it, because it is just too damn long. And if you play more than maybe about 30 seconds of something, they tend to flag you. So I will definitely put the clip in the descriptor. But this is basically where he was, to summarize, where he was talking about a spectacle of fearsome acts to get people to fall in the line kind of conversation. So one of the most haunting of all the whole movie. So, okay. This was Ragnar that gave this channel. Fearsome acts can quell the mightiest of ambitions. Take, for example, a king. He fears to lose his position. Take, for example, a thief. He fears to lose his hands. And take, for example, a murderer. He fears to lose his head. Fear can be a powerful motivator if well used. Misused, it can be the fall of man. Remember this, or fall to your own fears. That was the channeling of King Ragnar Lothbrok. So, let's see. Oops. Okay. Where did the question go here? Crap. Okay. All this was I just remember this one. This was about Saint Jude the Apostle, and if the backstory of St. Jude was legitimate or not. That's what the question was. For some reason, I just put the Wikipedia thing on here, and I didn't put the damn question. Okay. Whether the story about him was legitimate, him being the St. Jude the Apostle. Jude was one of the 12 apostles of Jesus, according to the New Testament. He is generally identified as Thaddeus and is also variously called Judas, Thaddeus, Judas, James, or Levasius. Okay. Okay, this was from Ragnar. He was fairly brutal in his answer. So anybody that knows about what I'm about to say, well, you're ahead of the game. So he went straight for the jugular on this one. So I'm sorry to say that the backstory of St. Jude of Thaddeus is simply not true. The Romans came up with some names for saints while others came in later. The origins of this are not as they seem. These 12 apostles, as the Christian religion refers to them as, were only children at the time of time being tendered as well as warded by the Roman Empire. At the time, they created the religion in order to run drugs as well as to run children. Good came out of it, yes, indeed it did, but also came control and darkness. Remember this, Christ or Christ means drugs, just like the trafficking of today. This happened to them too. Miracles happen, but so do fake ones. Enlil created that control, but humans then maintained or self-farmed that control. Religion can and does create good in this world. Margins for error, as you all say, but it also can create a dependency to a higher power and lead one not finding the higher power from within. This is all that I can say on this subject. Next question, Ragnar. All right. This is going to be, this is more of a comment than a question, but okay.
Says I'm at a amusement park right now, and I feel that this one pirate jackpot game I'm playing is related to ET somehow. I don't know if my instincts are correct, but I did want to share with you before I lead back to my home.
And it's a picture of a amusement park game or a like a slot machine type of thing at a casino. So okay, here's more. Okay, okay, did it? Oh, okay. Here is the answer to this, and it looks like it was a two-part. Okay. They all are related to ETs. For one, gambling came from the GF2, but also came from the Outer Rim worlds depicted in your Section 31 Star Trek movie, whereas there are areas outside the Federation that have gambling, drinks, prostitutes, etc. Just like in DS9 at Quark's with drinks and holosuites, and in Picard with Seven and the Rangers. This is all for now. Ragnar, and then he came back a little later and did another one here. So, there are aliens known to be those who patrol casinos along with Draco and others that wanted to become the embodiment of the concept of addiction. But the catch is becoming a concept is wrong because of the fact that it is a form of de-evolution. For example, if you are a man and then wish to regress into a gelatinous life form with no brain, then you now lack the evolutionary traits to wipe your own ass. See what I mean? He knows these aliens as Talarians, but their actual name is a form of Rigelian. Not all Rigelians are like this, just this bunch of retards. Ragnar. Okay, what else? So there was some disclosure in the media references, Doctor Who, Star Trek DS9, Star Trek Picard Season 1, and Star Trek Lower Decks. What all this entails is that these are all forms of seeing aliens going into some kind of like casino, some kind of just hangout, like a pirate's den, even Tatooine on Star Wars, where Han Solo is just kind of hanging out in the corner there, and you know the cantina sequence and everything that's on there. That's it. That is really what is actually being talked about here. And these are actual, they're basically saying this was basically the origin of a lot of these things. Think Vegas for a minute. Some of the stories behind that were the Tall Whites, according to Charles J. Hall, and what we channeled about the real New Vegas on a Talk with the Galactics a long time ago, where they settled that area of Nevada just prior to Vegas starting. How do you think Vegas started, folks? So, I mean, they say that it's people that were at these little train stops that started to gamble and they got an idea. Where do you think the idea came from? Other ideas not only come from yourself, but telepathy and from areas of the Akashic and multiverse where people are bringing in. Ideas are sight. You're seeing other realities like shows that they create. You're getting them from somewhere, be them in your own universe or another one or another reality. So this still fits that premise. So we can move on here.
Okay, next question. Is there such a thing as DNA activation? And if so, what is activated when DNA is turned on?
Okay, this was fantastic. This went on a while. Okay, more of that black font. Okay. Elena here to say that what you refer to as DNA activation is not, and I repeat, not a real thing. Yes, you do have what is called epipogenic DNA, which what is commonly known as junk DNA. In truth, DNA is not junk, is really what she was saying. I thought it said is, but apparently I missed a word there. Okay. It is all being it is all being utilized by the body, mind, and soul in some way, shape, or form. There is no such thing as awake and asleep. Everyone, and I mean everyone, has a lane to fill. Yes, some people come in with more abilities turned on, but in truth, anyone can perform the psionic tasks utilized by the so-called awake. When someone activates, what is actually happening is this. A perceptual aha moment is reached, whereas there is more of a perceptual clarity taking place between spirit/oversoul and the human avatar. Since all dimensional states are occurring all at once, one's body, mind, soul, spirit are all grounded in the moment. And in the moment, there is silence. And in that silence, there is clarity. Your body changes a bit because of this revelation, and what people perceive as a Kundalini activation occurs. Now, are there 12 strands of DNA being active activated or active with the 12 chakras? No, I am afraid not. Unfortunately, that message was created as well as propagated by your three-letter agencies, as well as the Orions before them, along with any hedge betting race that wishes to mislead their person/target. Now, can a good race bet on a persons? Yes, it happens all the time. It is just that some choose to run aground those that want to do good in this world. A series of unfortunate events, if you will. This is what I personally know to be, but there is still more within this field that Chris here still needs to learn. So until then, this is the fullest answer that I personally can give within his understanding of current as well as past events. Elena. They're back to that spiel now, folks. I knew as soon as we were getting into Q&A, I was going to hear that from a plethora of them, that I wasn't seeing things completely. Okay. This one I'm going to have to look at, and I will try to sum this up as best I can. This is a medical question, and I want to disclaimer this before I read this, that I'm not a doctor. We're not doctors. She might have medical background, but this was somebody's opinion, and that opinion was then confirmed by Thorsten. So just a bit of a disclaimer there. Okay. I will try to sum this up here. While the medical community establishment constantly fearmongers people to get routine colonoscopies for cancer prevention, there are eye-opening things no doctor will tell you about this subject, which could affect your long-term health. Please note, again, I'm not against colonoscopies if there are concerning digestive symptoms involved, but I am not a fan of otherwise healthy people doing routine testing for colorectal cancer, because doing so could actually increase the odds of getting more polyps, colon cancer, and here's why. And I'm going to check real quick to see how many pages this is. And yeah, I'm not going to read this whole thing. I'm just going to sum up what I read before. So it's too long. Okay. So the logic of the procedure is to check for cancerous growths, polyps, and if a polyp is found, it'll be removed during the procedure and analyzed. But as a colonoscopy itself is considered a preventative treatment, the logic is that the removal of a polyp supposedly helps prevent the future development of cancer by eliminating potentially harmful cells before they become malignant. Okay, this is where I'm just going to sum it up because that was too damn long. I read this a while back. The sum up and summary of this was that by basically cramming something up there, you're doing a little bit of damage. One, two, clipping off the polyps. Essentially, you're leaving little like divot holes in there that could cause kind of like basically an intestinal disorder later on down the road, which then also could lead to forms of cancer instead of preventing them. That was the premise of what was said in that. Now, do I think there are narratives out there, before I read what Thorsten says? Do I think there's narratives out there that try to put both a for and against in every single subject out there? Yes. Do I buy this one? I could buy that there could be some truth to it because, you know, you're snipping little bits of flesh in there. I'm not a doctor, but I could also see how somebody could spread disinformation that colonoscopy could work and snipping these off. In that person's justification, they believe that a polyp was more of the intestinal immune system, basically collecting all of the junk and then basically presenting it outward and healing it, kind of purging it. Instead, you're clipping it off and you're clipping out the antibodies. That was the person's justification there. I could see how something like that could be true. We don't know as much as we think we do, especially not as much as some of the galactic races do. So I will leave that to there.
And again, this is a channeling. This is not us.
Yes. So, and somebody was asking, is this true? Was what I just summed up here. If I'd sit here reading it, I've been sitting there for 10 minutes. So no. Okay. Yes and no, my dear. Thorsten here to say that while polyps are considered a precursor to cancer, they are not a bad thing. Think the colon's immune system, quote unquote, antibodies, if you will, of your innards. Now take those away, and you have gaps, holes, and weak points within your lower intestines. This is because you removed the polyp that was that chunk of flesh. Kind of like if you tried to remove a fever sore, thinking you're clipping it off, and you're just taking a part of your lip because it's actually bonded to the nerve ending and all that. So very similar. This is no different than if you removed fever sore or shingle from your face, neck, and or back. Chunks of flesh, poof, gone. And frowny face. Now, can ivermectin fix some of this beforehand? Yes and no. Alkalizing your body, eating right, not being stupid with your body is keys as is proper body talking. Screaming at it to change won't help if you are shoveling crap down it 24/7. Hee hee. A bit of a slam at dipshit here. Now, to cap this off, does the medical industry rake in trillions of dollars on both treating ailments and disease instead of curing them? Yes. And does it create the problems just to treat them? Yes, indeed. They do. Angry emoji. I don't know why they had me put the words in there, but okay. The fireman and the arsonist rolled into one. Angry emoji. Follow your heart, head, and find what your body actually wants. The poisons are not in all foods, just a lot of them. That is all for now, Chris. Winky face, hot. But why they have me label the emojis, I don't know. Okay. Okay. This is actually quite interesting, and this was actually a short one. There was some berserker mushroom disinformation that's out there, and this one I'm more inclined to believe. Basically, the AI overview is they were asking, is the berserker mushroom real? And the AI, these are all programmed by people, folks, if they want to spread disinformation or truth. You got to remember this. So these are made by people. AI overview. No, there is no concrete evidence that a mushroom called berserker mushroom exists or that the Vikings used a specific mushroom to induce berserker rages. While the idea of using Anamantia muscaria, fly agaric mushroom is a popular myth, historical sources don't support this claim. That is actually false, because before some of the Vikings would go into battle, and now history argues over what they grew it in and how this started and stopped. But before they would go into battle, some people believe they took a bunch of the mushroom, became violent, and just killed everything and burned everything on the ground. That is the popular misnomer. what they did, yes, they did use some of the mushroom, and it cleared up their eyesight enough to be more sharp in battle, how they could think clearly, and how they could plan out their battles, or when they went to ransack some Christian site somewhere, or plan some covert ops somewhere. But how did this work for them in the end? But in this also, a friend of mine who is a historian and archaeologist pointed out the way they actually did it was they fed him to a bunch of it to reindeer and then ate the poop. Which again, then he goes, this is where they got Santa and the reindeer from, alongside Odin and his 8-legged horse and Santa and his eight reindeer, excuse me. And then of course the dwarves that built the Bifrost and the weapons of the gods, and those are the worker elves in Santa's workshop. Aside from the Santa story, you have this story where aside from the reindeer up on the rooftop, click, 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 that's their claws or feet that do that, or the tendons, click. I found that out from Dr. Pohl watching that, by the way, and I was able to historically confirm it. This has also been historically confirmed in a similar way. What has not been historically confirmed is how they processed it. They figured, they fed them to reindeer, and they ate the poop. I could see that because a friend of mine was saying that the mushrooms were far too poisonous to eat in their raw form. And if you did, then you would go kind of insane. So I could see how the other story people thought was true based on what they knew of the mushroom. Now, I've used the pills, the 500 milligram pills, to sometimes, before sessions, and it tends to linger too long. It's a little too strong for me. That's me. It might suit other people. Does it work? Yes. Can it also be considered a poison? Also, yes. But the fact that they say there's no concrete evidence of either argument, that is false. Because there is a for and against. Of course, they would say something is 100% poison if it's good for you, and also if it was bad for you, of course, they would say it's 100% good. In this case, they've said neither. So this should tell you that both explanations, of course, if you over excess on something, it's poison. If you underdo something, it doesn't work. And if you ever found out that it was actually processed through reindeer intestines, you probably wouldn't touch it at all. So this is why you have this dubious explanation on the AI chat GPT. So let me see. All right, I think we can end that one here. We can go to the next one.
Okay, the next question is about the pyramids. It says, this person says, I believe there is nothing physically under the pyramids as they are showing column and such in the animated videos. I think it is energy vortex. If you can add to this in your next Q&A, much appreciated.
Okay, I found that interesting. This is after what was being shown under the Great Pyramid. Hello, Isaac here to say that there is both in play underneath the pyramids. For one, the power plant operation augments, as well as the original issue, connections from the Atlantean period. That said, there is another dimensional space access point underneath the Sphinx, and the switch to access is under both the right paw and behind the left ear. The switch opens both a door and a holographic space designed to be a dimension within a dimension, just like the TARDIS on Doctor Who, bigger on the inside. So both explanations are indeed correct. Good and fine, sir. Ha! Now, and it was Isaac. Now, yes, if you go with the teachings of Christopher Dunn, where he said it's the pyramid power plant, back before it was augmented, like what he was saying, towards the Atlantean period, people forget that whole area was part of Atlantis. All the way over into the Sahara Desert, where you have the Eye of Sahara, that was the main city, that Enlil bombed the crap out of it during Enki and Enlil's fight, and with nuclear warheads, turned it all to either green glass or sand. It evaporated any water that was there. You could tell that there had been salt water and everything around the Eye of Sahara. With the pyramid, however, it was a 0-point energy device. Eventually, some elven type groups and some dog, the Antiqua dogmen groups and such came along, and also mainly like an elven type or dwarven builder type, like you see in Skyrim with the dwarven builders creating the automaton and such, and the steam powered everything. This was in the age of Atlantis, the earlier age. You had like things like the Antikythera device and all this other stuff. You see the gears and everything that you see in the movie Aquaman. Now, you also had some 0-point energy devices, like the pyramids. Later on, when another group came in there to try to augment it, they turned it into a hydrogen power plant. They tried to augment the power grid to try to bring it back up, to try to repair it. The Egyptians, the regular people at the time, saw this. They thought it was dark sorcery, busted into the pyramid, killed the elven engineers that were in there, tall white derivative engineers that were in there, and then took all the metal rod that was in the center that was wrapped like essentially with compressed granite. They took it and melted it down for weapons. They also all the trenches and stuff that are underneath were for the chemicals to run a hydrogen plant. They basically then caused a hydrogen explosion in there, and that's why it's scorched and burned on the inside. So so what you're seeing are earlier period and augment from a later period. I was roughly about the year, I want to say 8,000-ish, somewhere in there. And it was I believe it was 9,700 BC for Atlantis, and it was somewhere around like about roughly 8,000 years ago was when the augmenters came in there to do it. So it was roughly, give or take. I don't know the exact. I just know it's somewhere in that rough area. Okay. Okay. Here we are. Okay, this is the question.
It says, have you or Joanna met or are familiar with Penny Bradley in the SSP when she was 4 because of her bloodline and abilities?
Okay, okay. And I said, yeah, I said something, then Isaac said something. Yes, we have. We met her at the 2024 Disclosure Now conference last July, and will again this July at the conference. We also interviewed her about altars. Now, as for your question, yes, I know that people are taken for their abilities as well as for their bloodlines, both for psionic reasons as well as if they can be used for other SSP or alien abductions, that should be, and or alien abduction reasons. All slaves as far as I'm concerned. And this is where Isaac chimed in. Isaac here with a short but poignant point that I wish to make. Yes, bloodlines are chosen for these experiments and assignments all of the time, but even those with abilities that just pop up from a possibly forgotten lineage are used, as well as from those that just grow their abilities all on their own. When their oversoul wishes it, targeting then can and or has ensued, as well as recruitment. This is all for now, or this dumbass will go on forever. Hee hee. Winky face. Meaning, when I do these Q&As now, I tend to go through, as I'm getting the questions from people, I tend to go through them immediately while it's still fresh, instead of waiting a while. So this next one I thought was actually interesting. This was a channeling by Michael Jackson again. So you can go ahead and read the question right there.
Was Justin Bieber a victim of MK Ultra style programming like Michael Jackson?
Yeah, and this was him. You're going to see a lot more from him in future episodes, I know. So, yes, dear Chris, Michael Jackson here to say that he was, like me, influenced this way by Hollywood. Kids are groomed early. The talent is both subverted and a cover for the horrors that occur there. I can go further easier in opening channel for this, but I hope this helps get more of this information out there. Thank you and God bless. Channeling of Michael Jackson. So he now acts like Isaac and Winks constantly. So we will go into the crap. Well, okay, that is going to be. I got to check this real quick. Okay. Okay, yeah, this is going to be just, yeah, you can read that.
I'm reading all of it.
Yeah, reading all of it up to I'll show you where the answer is.
Okay. Says I did purchase an object on eBay that has the description haunted doll, active spirit, positive protection, kind item named Hunka. and it says, warning, authentic haunted item, please read. Name, Puka. This is the spirit of a sweet 6-year-old Tommy, but people call him Punka, a nickname a friend made up for him while calling him silly names like Funky when he was being funny. Play some old school music, try anything. He will dance and get funky. The energy in the room will change. It is a protective dance to keep evil spirits away. His nickname made him feel loved, and he always brought good, fun, goofy energy to everyone he came into contact with. I found Puka at an estate sale and felt such a warm, childlike, and playful energy. He was just a child when his life was taken. From what he said through Spirit Box was a shot he got that put him into shock that seemed to be in the 1970s, 80s. Puka has beautiful wavy brownish and blonde hair and dark green eyes. He said he loves the movie Casper and the Halloween holiday, which is why he decided to attach himself to this doll. He just thinks it's so unique and fun to be scared every now and then. During our session, Puka said, "You're an amazing keeper, and do you love me?" which sometimes breaks my heart. He's so sweet and loving. He loves to be held while watching cartoons and scary movies. He loves when kids dress him up and pretend. You will smell sweet candy when he enters your home. He will move the candle flame if you light a candle for him. Puka misses his parents and other children used to play with him in the neighborhood and looking for a family to take him in as his own. He gets along great with other children's spirits here, and he really loves animals. If you let him, he will protect you with all of your heart from other dark and evil spirits. He's extremely loyal and will make sure your light is not harmed by evil. Puka is super active and will talk to you through dowsing rods, spirit boards, orbs, and spirit boxes. This vessel is uncleansed. Light a white candle, burn incense, and give a small presence to welcome him into your home.
I saw this. Okay. Let's see. And I said this at the top before Isaac said this. I'll show a picture of this thing too. This is actually, I don't like it when I see stuff like this. I get the feeling that this is an ET. This is an ET with the biological structure of a stuffed animal ghost. Like I was looking for the entity Boo from Nintendo World with the biological structure of a stuffed animal. Hopefully I'm correct and it's what I was thinking. It is, and this is where Isaac was saying. Isaac here, this is 3 different things: a scam, a soul trap / binding trap, and an ET type. Dolls and any human analog can be traps for ghosts, as well as demon types, but they can also be conduits for good beings to help children as well. Boo from Nintendo is also fashioned after an ET race. Dimensional in they only translate to the white Casper form when entering into this dimensional plane. That is all for now. Now I will scroll back up here and show what we were referring to here. And it is this thing right here. This haunted doll, active spirit, positive protection, loving, tangible. The thing is, if it was the spirit or a ghost of a small child, why would you want to keep them in this? It's different if a being, like what we've talked about in the past, comes into a doll or a sewn item like our friend Susan makes with No Knit Sherlock with her dolls. She has shungite in the center of them, and this assures only good comes into them. It's one thing if you have an active conduit, like I've said back on our Portals episode and Doorways and Dimensional Spaces episode years ago. Having that dream where I saw a girl going into a closet like Narnia, the witch lying in the wardrobe, and she would clutch this doll where beings from a good dimensional space were comforting her in a situation where she was in an orphanage with an evil nun. That's how my dream went. This, however, this is something that's sold on the market like a Ouija board. I would avoid these things like the plague, personally. That's me. Yeah.
Well, it's hard because it's kind of like, helping a child have an imaginary friend, let's say.
Yeah.
but there is a good chance that then an imaginary friend is coming in and
Is
may
stepping
not
into it.
necessarily be for that child's best interest. So,
Also, here's option 3. The child believes there's an imaginary friend in there. What do they create? A tulpa that is actually a thought form, a tulpa thought form that creates or co-creates an actual consciousness in there that was actually started with them, like the movie If, for instance, like Imaginary Friend. Things like that. That has been known to happen too. So it's the kids' own abilities that are being reflected back at them. This is to be avoided, but also at the same time, if a child wants to imagine, there is a lighter side to this. So we can go ahead and go on to the next one.
okay. The next question was Asclepius the Greek god of healing and medicine, and Vulcan god of fire, forge, and volcanoes, master craftsman, and is associated with blacksmiths and metalworking? Are they related to Poseidon?
Yeah, Asclepius or Asclepius, the son of Apollo, I believe this is. So, and Vulcan, the Roman metallurgy god. So, or volcanic god. So, Isaac here again. Asclepius is related to Apollo, god of the sun, also an aspect of Enlil. Next, Vulcan. He is not related to Poseidon, but is related to a titan of the earth that was and still is a master craftsman, a volcano titan, like Pele, to be exact. Lapius was the name I just had to had her look up. Let's see, what did he say? Oh yeah, Lapius was the name I just had him look him up, meaning me. Excuse me. This is Vulcan's father. Hephaestus was not Vulcan, nor no matter what the history books recorded. Next question, Isaac. What he was trying to get at is these were mostly Titans, and if people watched one of the latest GICs that we've done, this was about Pele and her son Maui. Very similar connotation with a rock titan. You can watch that GIC episode. Go to gic.show or www.galacticintraversalconsortium.com. All links in the descriptor. You will hear about Pele and Maui, you're welcome guy from Moana. So those were on the rock did the voiceover for. So
this question is kind of a simple one. Is Medusa benevolent?
Yeah, this one the answer went on a long time. So actually there were 2 answers on this one. Okay. Now, not now, she is not. LOL wink. Isaac here to say that when Athena gave her the transmutation, this in turn created a whole new species, the Gorgon. Part Draco, Naga, and ancient human, this witch of sorts could indeed turn men to stone, and a few women too, wink, if you know what I mean. How this occurred was exactly how Lot's wife turned to a pillar of salt when looking back at the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. Her energy was evaporated, and all that was left was the salt. Nuclear energy and rapid looshing can do that to the body. Medusa could do the same, but with her eyes. If you look at a nuclear blast, that alone could kill you. So at least blind you. But look at through the special. Look at it through special goggles, or even a reflection in a specially made shield for Perseus, son of Zeus himself, and voila, protection. Medusa could survive being radioactive because of the Draco gene. No one else could. Just like the Skrill in Marvel's Secret Invasion, their leader could withstand high amounts of radiation from Chernobyl's broken nuclear reactor. Next question, dumbass, Isaac. Okay, this was actually part 2 to this. Also, to add this, since Zeus and Enlil are one and the same being, Enlil used nukes on Atlantis. Athena, his daughter, used nuclear fusion, magic, and alchemy to mutate power Medusa into the form that everyone knows her to be as today. Nuclear fusion is the same as using the arc forge because of the fact that they both represent infinite diversity and infinite combinations, meaning nuclear mutant nuclear mutants, mutant has a gene that are now not filtered from both dimensional and multiversal mutations. Same goes with the ArcForge, but ironically, the ArcForge is safer to use. Wink. Ha. Next question, Isaac. Okay, next one.
Okay, it says, also, do you or Orleg or Isaac or anyone in your circle know any good beings out there who might share Christian beliefs similar to mine, that there's a higher force out there, or share any Jesus beliefs? I'm sure there are good beings out there who share my beliefs, and I'd love to meet one.
Right. Isaac here again to answer this question. Though there are people out there that they're in the galaxy that believe in a higher power, most, if any, see it as an overall energy frequency and not one to be worshipped. There are no Jesus worshippers out there in the galaxy unless they are running a scam via a human channeler or they are selling something. Sorry. Next question, dumbass. Ha, wink, Isaac. But I will contest this a little bit. There is a group, a galactic group of Mozen here on Earth that are Witcher types. They are essentially exorcist types, and they are basically the other half of the Catholic Church. You saw the movie The Pope's Exorcist. If you saw this, you saw what that actual faction does and looks like. I won't go reinvent the wheel because we did 2 episodes on this. I will put the links below. By the time you see this, you'll have seen episode 2 of when we channeled Father Gabriel Amort. So that is the closest thing I have ever seen to what you were talking about here. And it's a group of Mozen mixed with humans, in fact. And add the Witcher in there, and you pretty much got him. And Jedi Order, and you pretty much got him. So, and of course, the ending of the movie was an organization under the Vatican and the Vatican Library that was like a secret society. The Society of St. Peter. Van Helsing had the Order of oh no, it was the Society of St. Paul, and the Van Helsing had the Order of St. Peter. Same thing. I will go to, oh, that is the last one.
And so just to add to that, what your contribution is to this is that some of the beliefs within the Catholics about demons, about monsters, about things, that's where this group comes in.
Yes.
About the legitimacy of the story of Jesus Christ, they don't necessarily involve themselves. I don't want you to think the Mosens are thinking that,
No.
but they definitely, the totality where there is evil in this world, there are monsters in this world, where those things exist, yes, then that's what they are a part of trying to help remove.
Yes, and we explain this more in depth in those 2 episodes. If you go to the Real Pope's Exorcist one and also essentially the next one where we channel Father Gabriel Mort, you will actually hear what he had to say on the subject. So I found it fascinating. I thought it was pretty cool that there's another sect out there that is actually a legitimate form of the Catholic Church and not the power mongering side of it. And the pedophilic side of it. I thought that was very interesting. So now I'd like to know who, this is where the galactic contribution came in. I wasn't paying attention, noticed it was right at the end already. So, okay, I'd like to know who is the guy or lady that is going to channel for the end of this episode. Let's see. Oh, it's you, Isaac. Okay. Yeah, you answered several of them. And a lot of these were, this is how, a lot of these were back at the beginning of April that these were answered. This is how many we've had come in. And as of today, as of within the past 24 hours of the time of this recording, we had 18 of them come in. So keep them coming, folks. And from different people. All right. And we do write some ourselves as we are curious about something as well. So, or want to confirm something. So, Isaac, you are more than welcome to come in now. Yes, as soon as I shut up, yes. Okay. Why are you using the middle finger thing to talk? Okay, yeah, let's see. Yes, This, of course, is Isaac. The questions that were answered were actually very, very interesting. They are an eclectic bunch. Some of them are, well, of course, galactic history, while other ones were more modern day. This is the mix-up that you want. You want ancient and new. It may seem like it's all over the place, but I would recommend scattering chunks of these throughout every Q&A that you do, having ancient and modern. And if anybody listening has anything curious about ancient and modern, no matter what the narrative is, no matter what the whole concept is, no matter what, send that in. If you are questioning a particular narrative, please do so. Question all things. Now, they won't always comment on people. Now, if it's a part of public record, you really don't have any, there's really nothing wrong. But no name dropping, just of the concept in general is what I would recommend. Now, of course, ancient names, nobody cares. Somebody like myself would have to contend with those guys. I'm just saying that if you have questions in regards to that, this is what he was not thinking. You two weren't thinking yet. If you have regards to certain concepts, this is where, how am I put this? This is where the trend is going. The questioning of all aspects of these things. That is the logic side, where the intuitive side comes in. Is then you merge those two sides and forge critical thinking. He always likes to say grounding yourself, grounding in your I am presence within new perspectives and perceptions, taking the better part of your oversoul and the better part of your avatar, grounding in the I am and new perceptions and perspectives. That's a mouthful. Let's just say ground. We'll just put it that way. Ground. When you ground, you'll be able to see things more clearly. If you have a concept that you're wanting to question, by all means, send this in and somebody like myself will answer it. If they're knowledgeable, they'll answer it. If any of the other dumbasses out there are knowledgeable, they'll answer it. So I will go into questions.
Yeah, I was hoping we could talk a little bit more about the question regarding of DNA activations, because, you know, we've spoken about it before, but I personally would like to make sure that my understanding of it is correct. So I'll give you a little bit of what I understand, and then please fill in the rest or correct or whatever you feel you need to do. So my understanding is that in general, as we said, there really isn't any junk DNA inside a person. You know, everything is being used. And then when you expand in frequencies, more of different things become available within your own personal DNA. And so it's kind of an interesting thing, because if you're not at a certain frequency, no one is going to zap you to be able to all of a sudden bring in more information, because you're not at the frequency yet, but it's the frequency you are at. But in a sense, it's like an activation, or it can seem that way, because when you hit that frequency, what is within you already just kind of cuts on.
Let's see, memory is frequency, frequency is memory. You see, like your benevolent Akashic record, when you have at a certain frequency, you can access these things. No different than running a radio dial to a particular number and or channel. You see, a satellite or regular radio station. Same difference with this. All things are frequency. It is not that you're activating; it's already there. You are just perceiving it via frequency, and you now have access to it. There's a difference.
Exactly. So again, so people that are going necessarily to get an activation, nothing great may happen, because, you know, you actually have to expand yourself to hit a frequency. Now, and what you need, obviously, working on yourself and different things are what expands yourself. Now, on the flip side, there have been plenty of people that have talked about that they feel they had activated something, and then somehow it was pushed back down and let's call it deactivated, let's say.
No such thing.
So can you expand that? Because I know a lot of people feel that they have like the Kundalini experience, and then all of a sudden it's been stripped from them, or something has happened.
No, nothing is stripped. Can something be suppressed? Yes, like memory suppressed. As I said, frequency is memory is frequency. So within this, the dial got switched over to another frequency. Therefore, you felt like something disappeared. It's always there. It's just like the true benevolent source creator energy. It's always there. Spirit is always there. They're messing with people's perceptions and perspectives. They're basically throwing up illusions, like with V2K and all the rest. That people are saying, oh, they're disconnecting people from true benevolent spirit. No, that is impossible. They are basically changing your perspective and perceptional point and the frequency by which you are accessing. Therefore, you think the other thing has vanished. Spirit and your benevolent soul family is always around you. Do not doubt this for any moment in time. Just like when he feels there is interference where he can't communicate with me, Elena, Bessa, Force people, or any others, they can hear sometimes unless something's interfering with them if they're on Midgard. Now, I'm on Lanulos, so are Elena and Bessa, but we're transmitting through his communication arcs and other points he doesn't see. Just because he doesn't see doesn't mean it isn't there. Just because you don't see, hear, smell, or taste it doesn't mean it isn't there. You have not lost anything. There's psionic dampening around, therefore flipping the frequency. Therefore, you have not lost anything. What you were expecting versus what you got is different. Oh, I want to feel like I did then. Now, how do you know that what you felt then was legit or not? How do you know that that wasn't for that moment because the frequency you were supposed to bring in at that time then led to other things? People think that it just fizzled out. People also forget the New Age movement was created by the CIA and all that, but it doesn't mean that certain energies, aside from them trying to separate you from your emotions like a friggin' Vulcan, or try to snip anger away from you, or claim only half the equation of the yin yang. That was all wrong. It was designed to separate oneself from oneself. The Orions did an earlier one with celibacy, where people snipped off their sexual drives thinking, oh, I snipped my darkness off. It wasn't dark to begin with. They associated with Lucifer, thinking all carnal pleasures were dark, and then piety was and pious nature was somehow light. That was the church manipulating things in an earlier period. With the Orion influence, even further back, with opulence and all the opulent behaviors, thinking, oh, hedonism and all this, got separated from the more ordered self or the more pious self. Therefore, it's a yin and yang when you didn't need one. In this, I will go back to center here. With this, it is just your perception of what's around you that is actually being altered. As you expand those perceptions, you see everything in the world around you. It's like that ending to Star Trek Next Generation when Picard realizes the paradox anomaly, and Q said you found you had options you had never considered before when you realized one fact. Knowing and having premonition and memory that allowed him to access all the options of how to fix the anomaly and or problem. You see, it's think about it this way: would this self of yours be recognized by your teenage or 20s self? Probably not, because as you go along, you're changing perceptions and perspectives. Now, your younger self will go, God, what happened to you, kind of thing. You just became an old fart, whatever your younger self would say. Because it's a perceptional change as you go along. This is what is going on with the Kundalini activation. You are hitting a perceptual change. You are also remembering a frequency of which you were in somewhere else. You are bringing it here as you're accessing your multidimensional self, which sometimes that's not necessarily a good idea in some areas because you could bleed things through from the multiverse you don't want. But aside from the hazards, accessing spirit, accessing that what people call the oversoul or higher self when it's all technically here all at once is actually a good thing as long as you're not accessing some creepy dimension somewhere. Same goes with past life, both rewriting and also past life mirroring. Maybe you don't want everything from that period. Also, people that tell people they were celebrities, and yes, some actually are. There are some that you've come across that actually are, but most of them are not, and they're just accessing that information within the, you call it the Akashic grid, but it's the True Benevolent Akashic record and Galactic Akashics or True Benevolent Earth Mother Akashics, whatever you want to call it. Back on track, though, What you are activating is just your perception and perspective alteration to access that frequency by which then that overall information is then attainable.
So I'm going to ask some questions to clarify because I've heard so many different things about this, and I am not an expert. I just listen to what people say. It's when people a lot of times talk about the activation of their Kundalini and all this stuff, it always seems to be sexually oriented, like a sexual, like an orgasmic, like something like that. And then again, it seems to be something obviously that you can't stay in that state. But I'm not trying to Debbie down or anything. But when people say that, I wonder, well, is that what happened? Or God forbid, some you have fairies in different ones that can put you in that state, and they're not for your highest good.
Not all. No, there are some that are. Some are they're not. But
because it kind of ruins your ability to be with a regular person if you start getting into the energies with certain types of beings. That's what I mean by that.
Oh yes. A lot of fairies are from our world. The land of Tirnanogan and Lonulus are essentially the same. And this is also why Gene Roddenberry wrote the Dilton race in as a type of fairy as well, where Kirk had to enact a celibacy policy on one of the characters for that particular reason. That was a true concept. That could actually harm. That's why your character of Captain Decker fell for the other lady, because he automatically got a whiff of that pheromone or that energy, and it ended up never wearing off, you see. So this can be a danger. If you allow it to be, but if it's supposed to be, if it's something that you're supposed to connect to, by all means. Now, what people sometimes are feeling with the sexual portion of this, like the intenseness, sometimes it's one of these things. Sometimes it's their own self coming back online. They think like their root is dead or something like that, or they were pushing that away because they were hurt by a guy, girl, whomever, a partner, and they're pushing it away. But your energy always wants to, and your mind and your heart and your intuitive side and your soul wants to always return to a state of balance and wholeness. It's a return to balance. If it's overblown, which means it's been either suppressed too long and a predatory entity is preying on it because you've not accessed it or thought it was bad, therefore it got shoved over to that side and made you vulnerable because you were not accessing a true portion of yourself, or you're not acknowledging if, like, say, if you're gay or whatever, or lesbian or whatever, you're going with societal norms and you're snipping off a portion of yourself. Therefore, it leads to that kind of attack too. You're denying part of yourself that is there. Now, one more point though is sometimes it can be a good thing when this activates and people get embarrassed and then they shove it away again. They automatically go, oh, no, I shouldn't be thinking that. Why not? If it's not a creepy, incestuous thought that some evil witch somewhere has put in your head, if it's not that, what are you bitching about? If you've had one of the greatest orgasms you've ever had, nothing to bitch about. What you bitch about is if someone's trying to warp that. If someone is trying to fuck with it to the point that all you get is the creepy, that is worth bitching about. Other than that, it is changing your perceptions that your body and your soul and everything and spirit is trying to tell you. Don't castrate yourself. That is what that's trying to tell you. But other people go, oh, I've entered a celibacy stage. Okay, why? Because you think that you're focusing now on your soul. Your soul wants to have sex while here. So why not do that? Souls enter this form sometimes strictly to do that. Just keep that in mind before you follow older practices without looking into a revisionist or audited version of said energetic practice.
So, and one last question regarding that, because when I hear people talking about this, and let's say they rebalance, you're saying they rebalance their sexualized self, maybe during this process, and that's why they have this Kundalini kind of, orgasmic kind of thing. But you don't
in those situations.
But you don't stay in that heightened state. I guess what I'm saying is that I think people are thinking that sometimes when this happens to them and this balancing occurs, they're supposed to be feeling differently or feeling something like euphoria all the time or something, or walking around like that. And I'm like, I don't get that. I don't get what people are thinking.
Because they put a high expectation or standard on something that's impossible. You cannot be in an overdriven state forever and ever. It is good if you have an active sex drive. It is good if you're active with your partner. It is good if you're energetically balanced. But people want this happy, euphoric state all the time. Not only is there cyanic dampening out there right now, causing the deep depressions that imbalances, but to be all up here all the time and have that blissful state, no, because that is not part of the Earth life 100% of the time. You are on Midgard. Of course, you're going to go through life as with some of the mishaps, pitfalls, and stupid shit that happens. The important thing is don't let that get to you. Remain in a balanced state, but still feel the emotions that you're supposed to feel them. But that heightened state that you felt, that was all of that coming online, no pun intended, with others, as you had your awakening, quote unquote, or again, perceptual change. Of course, that's going to rush, but then it balances. Then you will have your moments in your life where you have those you call them aha moments, but having that revelation or having that beautiful connection with people, of course. And if that stays longer, great. Of course, you have that connection with somebody. That never changes until it's supposed to. Or if it's been interfered with enough, of course, it's going to have to redo through a rebalancing. But to be in that heightened state all the time, the blissful state all the time, if you are experiencing this in your life right now, you're either in a timeout lifetime, or that's why you came in to not only give yourself pleasure, but other people. Just saying. Other people out there, they are beautifully blissful. In nature, it's good to be grateful and thankful about being in nature. Absolutely. You're supposed to be happy about things and heightened states for things like that. But then you also have your responsibilities. You also, those people that I'm talking about, he's seen some blips on Instagram of ladies being out in nature. Yes, but you have to decompress. If you run around naked in the desert somewhere, I am fully supportive of that. Besides, I hang out in the desert and watch them like a creeper sometimes. So do the two ladies. They will deny it all they want. But, especially in Valley of Fire, by the way, they've had some ladies and photographers out there. But anyway, more than just a couple of groups. Anyway, good, beautiful place to do that, by the way. But with this, and there's aliens watching them all the time when they do this shit. Just trust me. There are peeping Toms watching and going, hundreds of them watching them. They are never alone out there. Even if you and one photographer out there, never alone, ever. Just point the fact if you guys are listening. But I'm just saying, of course you have to have a decompression time, or as you go insane, of course you have to do all of these things. But you balance this with the rest of your life. You're just seeing the points in their life where they're rebalancing. If again, or decompression. If again, this is all they do for their whole life, they either have a timeout lifetime, or that was the purpose by which they came in to either give themselves pleasure, or that everybody else could just watch them prancing around like a naked fairy. Again, not slamming it. I'm just saying that's usually how the energetics and the energetic balance goes.
So then there's both things going on. You probably have people again that maybe some oppression or something has kind of dampened it again. It may need to be rebalanced, but it sounds like also there's the possibility there that you're perfectly fine. You are rebalanced, but you're thinking you're supposed to be in a state that
it's an expectation that it's supposed to stay that.
Yeah, and it's not, and you're perfectly fine.
Yes, you're perfectly fine. You think something's wrong. Yeah.
I think that's important to talk about because I'm always like, I think people sometimes are perfectly fine, but they have this expectation that I didn't think was truly accurate.
It's not realistic.
Okay.
It's not realistic to be that way. Of course, you have to have the balance If your pendulum's swinging too much, you're out of bounds. If you're imbalanced, of course you need the decompression time. Prance around in the desert naked. Don't care if that's your thing, or whatever your thing, your passion and creativity happens to be. You're in that moment of non-time. But can you remain there? It's not practical in an environment with so much stimulus. It's not practical. You have to balance that in with all the stimulus. Of course you want a happy life, and I hope you get one. Doesn't mean you're not going to run into an asshole here and there. I can't promise you won't. If you don't, you are a lucky bastard at that point. I will end this here. Do you have other questions?
No, I appreciate that. And the next, again, I think it was great that when someone, again, that whenever the conversation of religion comes up, especially the Christian one, I was really glad to see that someone tried to point out, because I believe this, you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, because there are positive things, that can happen within a fellowship of people getting together and doing good things. They may be doing it under a religious header, but I dare to say that probably they would be a person who would do it anyway, whether they were under a religious header or not, because they were just decent people doing good things. So I'm actually glad that I don't remember who responded that way, that was said. But I do wanted to clarify that that was said in just your perspective, that out in the galactics, there seems to still be the question of fitting in some sort of higher power, higher source, higher something. It's not just relegated to people on Earth who are seeking, it seems to me. So I just wanted you to kind of respond to that.
Yes, yes, of course. The church will. It doesn't mean, of course you've heard the Sylvia Browne prophecies. Oh, the church will collapse. You've heard this since the 90s and the 80s and 90s. Will what you know of it collapse? If Father Mort has his druthers, yes. But it doesn't mean community churches will go away, Jesus worship or not. They will have to learn that part on their own. You could show them the actual history, proof of that history. It will still take at least a couple of centuries to be righted. That said, the community churches, the community areas where people have gathering places, if you did not have these, you would have people being stagnant, staying in their house, watching pornography. And this has happened, especially in 2020. Again, then the entanglements they're in. If you also you have communities where people can gather and do things, great. Community centers, great. You will start to see this actually increase. Before the economy rights itself, a little bit before, I don't want to say long before, but a little before all the shops come back, before all this rights itself, before it returns to a heyday or has a renaissance, you're going to see more of these community areas pop up. People will start to see what they want, what they do not want, what they feel time has to revert back to, because you even saw AJ from the Y-Files saying he was a kid and went to a mall and saw it bustling, and now it's all dead. This won't last as long as people think it will. It will change. It won't be exactly like it was then in the heyday. It will change a bit and it will transform, but what will precede that, the sign you will see before any of that has a revival, will be these communities and churches and community centers get a revival first. This is where it will start.
And again, there's nothing wrong with community. There's nothing wrong with getting together to do good things.
People have to know what they're doing it for before they go back into doing the rest of it.
Right.
The capitalistic way, before that happens.
Exactly. And I think that's the one thing that I can say that people started to realize during this medical catastrophe, that they really are communal beings and they want to be with each other and they want to help one another. And
that
things
taught
like
everybody that taught everybody that what that evil did to them taught them what they then were without.
Right. So again, I would say that there's going to be a transition because people also want to know what really the truth is. There's that desire of really wanting to know. And so people are going to be open-minded, some will, some won't, to be able to change, but they're not going to lose, I feel, they're not going to lose the goodness side of what some of these fellowships and the churches have done. Just some of the domination, fearing, and those types of things will go away, and maybe, good things will really keep its place, where again, people can come on a day, bring their families, get together with other people that they are kind of good and like-minded, be together, fellowship. And so again, I hope that everybody isn't so angry with, let's say, what they feel are the lies of the church, that they can't see that there is goodness also there. You want to keep the good and, of course, get rid of what is been used for domination and control, let's say.
And it's important to get rid of that. Of course, oust it wherever you can. I'm not saying be a vigilante and go off and start burning churches. That's actually happening right now. It's being trying to be kept quiet by certain communities, but it's actually happening. I'm not saying go that far. Do that in your thoughts, whereas you're getting rid of the lies and burning that. The energetics of a place like that. He likes to say the bad guys put an attachment on the light body of a building. It makes it sick or makes it kind of clandestine towards a certain purpose, or tries to dumb people down, or what have you, kind of like a Borg type of collective type thing. You burn that part out in your mind and in your heart space, and you can transform the building not to a place of worship, but a place of gathering. That's a different story. Worship will go away, gatherings will not.
Good. And that makes me happy because we are communal, and we don't want to be separated like that. So I don't have any further conversation related to the Q&A today, unless there was something you wanted to point out.
No, this would be it. Just be careful how many of these you do in a row. They are getting noticed because these will be the episode type that takes the cake. Because it's being inclusive, not in a forced or rotten way, like you're seeing forced inclusivity, DEI. No. It is being inclusive of all ideas. This is why this needed to come back. This is why he was being zapped or programmed or whatever he wants to call it to not bring these back, because these are actually the more important episode types, and these need to keep going. Even if I wouldn't say abandon any others. Of course, you have the Q&A in all types, from your GIC to your conspiracy sector to your the world of Sasquatch and whatever anybody wants to talk about. Them GIC, Odin wants to foam at the mouth. I really don't care for a couple hours. Great, absolutely great. You can adapt all types of the franchises to this particular format, which you're already doing. And that type of format takes the cake, because this is the current trend. Question and answer is current trend because people are hungry for information. They want it in he calls it 3-second goldfish memory, but they want this. They're hungry for this type of information in spurts. Then all you have to do is just tell them to go to the other places for the expanded conversations. This is true of anybody doing any podcast, any form of VTubing, anything like that. This is how it's done at the moment, and then you expand on those ideas. So I'm pretty much done if you don't have anything else.
No, thanks for joining.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye now. Okay. Yeah, he's actually right. I've done a ton of these. You've seen these, a bunch of these Q&As, and I am going to start adding some of the Ghost Box stuff in there. I am also going to make a Sage Rumble to put all the Sage history stuff in there. And of course, I'm going to add to the Conspiracy Sector website. I'll put a link on the Conspiracy Sector or conspiracysector.com for the Sage material. But what I'm going to do is I've been trying a new experiment. When we're out, I'm trying to do some Q&A with the Ghost Box and seeing if I can get something to match up there. Don't ever do it in your home, though, guys. Never. No, never do it in your home. Do it far and away in historical places. Go anywhere and do those. Just not in your house. or anybody else's house. So, I even did it in a church once, so I'll have to upload those videos at some point. So, I don't know if you have anything to add, Joanna?
No, well done.
Okay, so thank you everybody for watching this Q&A episode. You'll probably be seeing this at some time in late May, so mid to late May, and this is being recorded on 4/30/25. So, thank you everybody, and I now close this circle within true benevolence with no conflicting agendas as of this moment in time. So, thank you everybody. Bye-bye now.
Also, I do want to point out there was something that was also mentioned in that episode with Brian, Rob, and us. And also the Q&A as well about the psionic focuses. The Q&A you saw before this episode aired. There is a Star Trek Discovery reference that actually fits this to a T. Something happened in the secret space program. Some children were taken that had emotional outburst type of destructive psionics, majorly. Now I'll get to the Star Trek reference in a second. They were taken to the moon in this pyramid that had these honeycomb like segmentations in it, and this was a gigantic psionic enhancer. They have psionic enhancers. ETs have it to talk. Isaac, Elaine, and Vesa use it to talk. That's what they have the communication arcs for. And also, some races can put an implant in your house so they can wear a hologram, like the holographic doctor in Star Trek Voyager, and can come into your property and talk. Billy Meyer ran into this same identical thing, so have I. So, what ended up happening is these children, whenever they would see an enemy combatant, all they'd have to do is see it. They'd go, "Oh my God!" Boom, and that person's planet, space station, and or moon would be dust because of a psionic resonator that big, using the power of the moon ship and or the Death Star moon ship that / Soul Trap. It was converted into a Soul Trap, but it was one of Odin's commissioned Death Star defense weapons for the solar system during the creation of the Nine Realms and shielding the system from the subsequent Orion invasion and eventual Ragnarok that took place. It was assimilated by the AI of the Orions, and they converted it into a Soul Trap. Saturn II, even though he filters a lot of the negative energy coming into the system. Now, how is this relevant to the Trek reference? I'll give one more thing. Joanna was one of these people. And what ended up happening was she was looking towards me one time. This was before we came physical contact with each other. This was over email and over phone. There were Draco that were bugging me one time. And she automatically saw in her head these Draco sitting around a council table. And all of a sudden she just had this visceral PTSD reaction, and then poof, and they were up in a purple whirlwind and tossed into another dimension. Needless to say, they were pissed. It's like Marvin the Martian, with the P-31 space modulator, and it's really a dynamite stick. He goes, "Oh, I got it back," boom, and then it blows up in his hand. You see a tower in the background going. Ugh. That's what that reminded me of. Anyhow, and Mars was accurate to this. Draco, Martian, German. You get it. That's the joke reference I was given them by Isaac because of the fact that they are a joke. And I've said the way you beat Nazi ideology is you consider it a joke. I always say, like when I called the Nazi lieutenant and his commandant, Hans and Franz, in the secret space program, make jokes out of them, We want to bump you up. I do that to them to make them look retarded. Like people made a movie like Iron Sky 1 and 2. Made him look retarded. Great. I didn't like the movie, but make him look stupid. The way you defeat that ideology is make him look retarded. And I cannot express that enough. But the reference to this was Star Trek Discovery. They were trying to figure out what created the burn, what destroyed all the dilithium deposits everywhere, and ignited them. And any ships that were pre-burn were fine. But during, boom. What happened was there was this kid on this one planet that was dimensionally oriented and it was like a nexus point, but it was loaded with dilithium deposits that were unaffected by the burn. This was ground zero because he sees his mother die as a kid. He has high psionic abilities. He's like, ah! And that fear rippled across the galaxy. to every Federation ship that was at war. They went boom, millions of people died, and that was the Great Burn. That even though that was a real event that took place, they were talking about galactically during a war. I'm figuring, yes, it's dealing with psionics as well during that time, and people's souls that existed then were also used in the secret space program to do the same thing for warfare, psionic warfare purposes. I just had that validated. So this is where that connection is. So basically, everything everywhere all at once is happening all at once. You find the soul that was once there, you can use them for this. This is why Joanna and I made the point in a show saying souls that were around in World War I and World War II don't want a World War III and have come in to try to avert a World War III or like a eugenics wars in Star Trek. So, yeah, the rise of like Khan and ill genetic mutations like that. The greater the greater the intellect, the greater the ambition kind of thing. Superior intellect breeds superior ambition. Trying to prevent things like that. So that's why I wanted to bring up. Also in the Q&A show was brought up the thing about the green nanovirus or the green smart dust, the glow dust. Insectoids have smart glow dust, and this is why when I was ready to be, when I was about ready to get sick in 21. I was in bed at night with Joanna, and I heard, we both heard in our heads, basically turn our backs to the walls. I did the opposite and turned my face to the wall. All I heard was, and that was a clue that in a different frequency there was an insectoid or a couple of them in the room that were pissed that I was able to defy their telepathic commands. The Force people call them dreaming bugs for a reason. They do dreamtime violations and invasions constantly. So, at least the bad ones anyway. And I turn around, and I'm hearing, I hear this from the insectoids, got them out of there. A little while later in the week, I see a green, glow dust that's barely visible to my eyes, filtering through the house like a smoke. Or like dust, like if you dusted something off and it was and you get dust particles in a sunbeam. Like I would annoy Joanna with my feet and click my toes, and rub my feet together in a sunbeam, and she watched all the skin cells go everywhere and she got grossed out. It's like that if somebody would do that, see all the dry skin cells. That's what it looked like to me. Or like glitter, like the smart dust is in the chemtrails. And also all the other chemicals like barium, strontium, aluminum, all that shit they put in there. Even a virus that causes people to be overly thirsty, so they will constantly drink the bottled water, and therefore microplastics. So, that was also brought up in the show. I call it the thirst virus. They'll make them overly thirsty, overly hungry. There's also a fat virus out there that makes people constantly want to eat, get them fat, slow, and stupid. The poison's in the food. You know the rest. And it turns it into a full-blown addiction. So, at any rate, I was sick after being around that dust, and my Humpty Dumpty wasn't completely put back together again completely. In a slightly different configuration than when Humpty Dumpty fell from the wall and had a great fall. And all the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty Dumpty back together again. Even though the original poem did not have him as an egg, still, the analogy is sound, if you include the egg portion. And rebirth, egg, rebirth, you get the whole thing. You see this like in Skyrim, you see it in Infinite, where they use the symbol of the egg. That's why I used it. Whereas Parthenyx asks you in Skyrim, are you wanting the next egg to not form? And you say, I like my world the way it is because you don't want Alduin to destroy it. Or in Infinite, where Chidwell Ejiofor's character tries to stop Mark Wahlberg, and he's trying to use an egg-shaped destroyer of humanity type thing out the atomic level. He's highly intelligent. Looks like from almost like the Atlantean era, and the two guys are two brothers like Enki and Enlil. I know I diverted, but these are answering the very questions that are in this episode. I highly recommend these sources to look at for this material. They have them embedded in there very heavily from Secret Space Program to Antiquity. So, and everything's all happening at once anyway. That's why the two are bridged. Just like the time travel programs like Montauk, viewed all of these things, viewed the destruction of Asgard, all of these things. They like to call it Maldek, but that word just is a reptilian word meaning mine hours. Maldek meaning mine hours. And for future reference, the word Shadrach means fuck, and Sadrasya means motherfucker. Just putting that out there. Targna means retard. Those are some reptilian or Draco-reptilian words. Just for your little lesson in that language for today. That's all I know, by the way. You get the cuss words first. But anyway, in this here, but just know that I felt this needed to be added to that episode. It is. We'll do more of these in the future, both regular Q&A and Q&As with Brian, Rob, and other guests. So, as we do at the end of all the shows, but we can do whole shows like that as well. If you want to see more of that, let us know. So it is 1:53 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Tuesday, April 29th, 2025. Thank you.